Hi everyone, my name's Lily. I am the book reviewer behind Utopia State of Mind, and today I'm going to be doing my monthly Librofm picks for March in this case. If you are new to this series or this channel, basically every month I go through the curated playlist of the Kiss Club and the YA Club, and I also look at the recently added sales picks in Librofm, and I tell you what I'm buying, I tell you what's on my TBR, and I also give you little mini reviews, I guess, about which ones I would recommend. Just so you know, Librofm is an independent audiobook subscription service. You can pay, I think, $14.99 a month for 1 credit to have a membership. This is a audiobook subscription service that does not support Amazon. It also supports local independent bookstores because you can pick an independent bookstore to kind of give a little bit of a commission to, and you own all the audiobooks afterwards. If you're an active member, you also get an additional 30% off sale books. So definitely should check them out if you want to pick up any of these books. You do not need a active membership to actually get any of these books a la carte though, so you don't need that if you want to hop on these sales anyway. The Kiss Club this month didn't have as many as it normally does, but the ones that it does have are really great. So basically, I just want to mention as well, in case you didn't realize this, the Kiss Club and the YA Club playlists are curated. So in the sales portion of this video, sometimes I do talk about YA books or romance books that are on the sales, but are not ones that you will have seen in the other ones. It's because they're curated. So the first one is a book, When You're Mine by Kennedy Ryan. This is on my TBR and in my cart because I basically read in February before I let go, and I'm just now on a Kennedy Ryan train. So I really am interested in this one, and I saw this one on sale and I was like, oh, I have to mention that one. So basically, all I really know is that it's by Kennedy Ryan. And let's see, it says, one woman on the brink of making a decision that will change her life forever. Kennedy Ryan books to me are really emotional, so very excited to read this one. If you've read this Kennedy Ryan book or another Kennedy Ryan book, please let me know down below what's your favorite so that I know which one to jump into. As I said, this is in my cart. The next one is Count Your Lucky Stars. This is the third book. It's another kind of contemporary romance, side character, companion novel, all connected universe book, I guess, to the Written in the Stars series. And this one is a queer romance book. I think the first one is that she comes face to face with her childhood friend and her first love, and they have not necessarily spoken since I think 10 years. Yeah, 10 years. I now understood. It took me a while to read this and figure out who they're referring to in each of these paragraphs. But basically, one of the main characters, Margot, she is touring a wedding venue with her engaged friends, and there she sees the girl who got away, also her former childhood friend. And the touring the wedding venue, the childhood friend, the one who got away, actually works at the wedding venue. So that's kind of the setup and that's premise for Count Your Lucky Stars. The next one is Marriage and Masti. This is a series which is a romance series written by Nisha Sharma, which are all Shakespeare retellings, I guess. Yes, I've read this one. I cannot remember, honestly, with this series, which one I read. This is an ode to Twelfth Night, which is one of my absolute favorite Shakespeare plays. And this one has a little bit of kind of like a different identities. This one, to me, is not the most kind of faithful to the 12th Night. It's more of an ode to it. It's not a direct retelling. In the other two books, there have been a little bit, I would say, more faithful interpretations of the Shakespeare plays. So she has had a really rough year. And so basically, there's like some family drama because she was kind of pushed out of her dad's company. But then she finds out from her twin sister there's a way to get back, sort of. And the other character wants to secure votes to become a CEO at his family's company. So there are like family companies. I think that's kind of one of the odes to 12th Night. The family companies sort of work as royalty positions or formal court positions. And that's one of the parallels between 12th Night. Through their interactions, they kind of have to figure out how to get what they want. And so I think there it goes a little bit off the rails for the 12th Night. The actual premise has an ode to 12th Night, and I really enjoyed this one. And I've really enjoyed the series in general. The series is called If Shakespeare Were an Auntie, and I think it's really, really fun. And I've really enjoyed Nisha Sharma's other books as well. So this is one where I saw Nisha Sharma and I got into the series that way. Next one is Actor Age Eve Brown. If you've been following me for a while, you will know that I love Talia Hibbert, and I specifically love Actor Age Eve Brown. I listened to this one on audiobook from Librofm. It's in my library, and it is good. It is spicy, but it is very, very good. It's the third book in the Brown Sisters series, which is an absolute must read if you haven't read it. It is so good. And Actor Age Eve Brown, you should just read book 1 and book 2 before you read this one, because you will understand Eve's character so much more, in the sense that Eve like totally feels that all of her sisters have their acts together. She kind of feels like this chaotic mess, and it 100% comes from the fact that they're time-wise sequential. So she's seen her sisters go through these things but kind of come out with their own happy endings, and so she feels even more like a mess. So Actor Age Eve Brown is sort of capitalizing on that and how she kind of feels that way, and how she's always kind of felt like the chaotic mess of the family. And so Eve decides to help out at the B&B because she hits him with his car. Well, actually, she hits him with her car and breaks his arm. So I definitely think you definitely could read this one as a standalone, but I would highly recommend reading 1 and 2 just because you get more of a sense of Eve's character. The next one is Cruel Seduction, which I'm not going to talk that much about because I don't think I've actually read Cruel Seduction. It's the 5th book in the Dark Olympus series. If you're a Katie Robert fan, please just make sure that you're checking these, because I feel like almost every month a Katie Robert book is on sale at Librofm. And so this is the 5th book in the series, and this is the Aphrodite book. And I 100% have not read this one. At some point I got behind on the Dark Olympus series, and the speed at which Katie Robert comes out with books just means that it was like an avalanche, basically, of books that I haven't read. And I have not read Cruel Seduction, although it is on my TBR. And now I want to talk about the YA Club, which, although the YA Club had 2 pages only of books, it has a ton that I would recommend. The first one is Foul Lady Fortune. I love Chloe Gong books. I also really love the narration of Emily Wu Zeller. So this is the perfect combination of both. Foul Lady Fortune is the first in the duology, which is a duology that can be read standalone, but I think would be really great if you read it after These Violent Delights and Our Violent Ends, although you can read it separately. So this is not one of the ones kind of like Actor Age Brown where I'm like, you have to. I think that you definitely can read them separately. So this one takes side characters from the first one. Basically, you don't need to know a ton about it, because Rosalind essentially is as connected family-wise to characters from These Violent Delights. You see Rosalind a bit in These Violent Delights and Our Violent Ends, but it's nothing where you won't really you know understand. They talk about it. And anyway, in the Foul Lady Fortune, basically it's kind of like this fun spies who are kind of working with each other, against each other, separate things. I think that Foul Lady Fortune just capitalizes on this world that Chloe has built and brings a lot of politics, brings a lot of also historical to it. You see that a little bit in the first duology, but I think you see it a ton more in Foul Lady Fortune and Foul Heart Huntsman, the historical fiction / fantasy mashup in this other duology. It has some really, really just fun moments. It has a cute kind of swoony romances as well. So I really recommend that one. Next one is Ruling Destiny, which is on my TBR. It is the sequel to Stealing Infinity, which I have not read, but it is on my shelf because I love the idea of time. Basically, it's about traveling through time. It is like a sci-fi, YA, fantasy, romance kind of mashup. I have not read the synopsis because I haven't read Stealing Infinity, and I won't read the synopsis because I don't want to spoil myself. But anyway, if you read that one and you want to read the sequel, it also has 3 narrators. I love pointing that out. Next one is Where the Dark Stands Still, which is such a gorgeous book that gives Howl's Moving Castle vibes. I haven't read Howl's Moving Castle, but that is literally the number one comp title I see to Where the Dark Stands Still. But it is a gorgeous book about monstrosity and love and second chances. I really loved the world building. I loved the intricate character detail in this one. And I also, as I said, love the idea about it has like things that you would love in fantasy stories about bargains and magical woods that are a little bit dangerous and secrets like that. And it talks a little bit about the intersection of love, sacrifice, and monstrosity, which are all things I really love. The next one is Stars Hide Your Fires, which is a YA science fiction, but it's also a little bit like murder mystery. I love how it says Knives Out goes sci-fi in a YA mystery set in space because I think that 100% works. I actually listened to this one on audiobook from the library because it was narrated by Natalie Naudis, who is an auto-buy narrator for me. And I basically want to read everything that Natalie has narrated, but it is 100% that. Basically, she goes there and she goes to a ball and it's kind of, she wants to do heisty stuff, but then she actually realizes that more is going on there that he ends up getting roped into. Next one we have is I'd Rather Burn Than Bloom, which I loved. I think I also listened to half of this on audiobook, half of this I read, but it is so gorgeously emotionally devastating. I guess. I'd Rather Burn Than Bloom. She is trying to figure out who she is after her mom dies. And basically, I love that we have this perception that you want to be best friends with your mother, that you want to be best friends with a parent figure, but it's just not the case for her. And so after her mom dies, she's really kind of navigating images of what she thought she wanted from her mother, what she got from her mother, what people think about the relationship. And I feel like you have this tendency after someone dies to try to only remember the good, to try to look at that, but that's not what's going to help you in your grieving process. And it's also not going to be true to who they are. And so I'd Rather Burn Than Bloom talks about that. It talks about the fight. It talks about the things that you wish you'd said and things you wish you hadn't have said. And so she's also talking about this because she is trying to figure out also her connection to her Filipino roots from her mother's memory and from her mother's side of the family, the mother connection as well. So basically, this one is just really, really emotional. She sleeps with her best friend's boyfriend. She is kind of unmoored and going through a ton of different things. And I'd Rather Burn Than Bloom is about feeling these feelings and trying to figure out who we are in the midst of this kind of tumultuous storm. We also have a Thaw love story, which was super, super cute. It's basically like rivaling competing neighboring restaurants and two teens who fall in love. Classic setup, but it's really, really fun. Basically, how much yeah, so basically their families are at odds. They kind of have always been at odds and they have always avoided them, each other, but then they fall in love. And so how are they going to be in love? How can their relationship survive while also their family are feuding? It has dual perspective narrators as well. The next one I want to talk about is Wisteria by Adeline Grace, which I actually listened to on audiobook, and I had a really fun time listening to an audiobook. As a whole, the story of Wisteria is probably not my favorite of the three. I really, really love the OG Belladonna. But anyway, in Wisteria, it's from Blythe, who is a character we've seen throughout the whole entire series. And she has an overprotective father. And so she decides to, she has all of these connections to the past. I feel like in all of these, it's kind of walked the line between romance and fantasy. There are always these mysterious, fantastical connections behind like who they are. If you've read Belladonna or Foxglove, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm trying to keep it really vague and non-spoilery in case you haven't read either but are interested. And so it has the things that we've come to know about this series, and I liked it, but I didn't love it as much as I thought I would, specifically as well because it is a conclusion to the trilogy. And I did like the ways it wrapped up kind of other elements to it, but like couple ship-wise, they weren't my favorite of the entire series. And the last one is The Cruel Prince, which I have not read. Shocker. I have not read The Cruel Prince, but I'm actually currently listening to this as a hold from my library book, and I've literally only read like 5 seconds of it before I had to finish brushing my teeth last night. But anyway, I don't honestly even know what happens in The Cruel Prince, but if you're like me and haven't read The Cruel Prince and want to listen to it as an audiobook, then join me, I guess. This is the most on timing video to do that. I don't know if I'll buy this just because then it would release me from the library due date, but it's in my cart in case I decide to do that. And I want to talk now about sale audiobooks. There aren't that many that I want to chat about, but the first one is European Travel for the Monstrous Gentlewoman. This is the next one in the series after The Strange Case for the Alchemist's Daughter, I think. They're really long titles. But The Strange Case is on my TBR, and European Travel for the Monstrous Gentlewoman is. I've heard a lot of talk about how this is super, super underrated as a series. So I wanted to mention this in case you read Strange Case or you're thinking about it. I don't know if you have to read the first one. Yes, you have to read the first one. It literally says in the sequel to it. I haven't read any of the synopsis because I haven't read the first one either, so this is another one where I don't want to spoil myself. There's also a sale on A History of Wild Places, which is Shay Earnshaw's, I think, adult debut, but it was a book which, okay, it's been, like, you see it more as kind of like this book, which is supposed to be really high paced, and I think there is a sense of tension, but it's more to me of like a character small community tension. Basically, she lives in this really small town. I don't remember if it's an island, but basically it's a small community and they live all together, but there's all these secrets that she doesn't even know about kind of what happened in her own family's past and also what happens in the past of the community. And so basically one of the characters comes back, but there's a risk of bringing this rot into where they live. And so I thought it was going to be super, super heavy on this kind of fantastical rot disease kind of thing. But in reality, what it really is more of kind of like a secret community where there's rot, like not only in this mysterious disease, but kind of rot and corruption and secrets that kind of will not refuse to be silenced, I guess. More of that vibe. So if you're reading it and you're kind of like, oh, rot, interesting, let me, focus on that. Don't focus on that. Focus more on the community and secrets, because that's really where the strength of the story lies. It's a lot more quiet than I thought it would be, even though it says that it's going to be a thriller. It's more of kind of an atmosphere and a kind of like, can I trust these people? And less so kind of like, how do I describe it? It's more of kind of a character-driven mystery, character-driven thriller, and atmosphere in that sense. Also, Shadows and Storms, which is the fourth book in the Legends of Thesmar, is on sale. I'm mentioning this because I'm also currently reading Vows and Ruin, which is the second book in the Legends of Thesmar series. I think I'm going to pick this up because it would allow me to not have to read all 3 books on my library's time frame, and I could read basically book 2. I could immediately get out book 3 because that one I didn't have a wait list for, and then I can read book 4 whenever I need to. There's not as much like, oh my god, when is my library hold gonna come in, basically. And I will not read the synopsis because even though I kind of know what happens at the very, very end of this series because I read Iron and Embers, the companion series, I don't want to spoil myself, but I just wanted to mention it just in case you have been joining me on this Thesmar world obsession. We also have Full Speed to a Crash Landing, which I really, really enjoyed. The sci-fi, fun, sort of swooning novella series. I recently finished the second one. It is so fun. I'm so excited for number 3, which is a compilation or conclusion to this trilogy. Read it if you really love science fiction books with like a really fun heroine who is kind of like a bounty hunter who kind of is like capitalism, corporations, they all suck, but also I'm in it for myself, but like if on my bounty hunting ways I find someone who needs help, then I'll give them help, but like I'm not in it to give help kind of vibe to it. It is really fun, and I think when you read it and you listen to the end of it or read the end of it, then you'll definitely be hooked for the next one in the series. Five Broken Blades is on sale, and I actually listened to Five Broken Blades on audiobook. It has multiple narrators, and that is one of the things I loved about it. It is one of the reasons why I'm committing to reading this series only in audiobook form, because I love when things have multiple narrators in a book and then they have multiple audiobook narrators. It helps me so much to get a better sense of who these characters are personality wise, and also to keep it clear in my head. So definitely want to recommend this one. This one is like an epic fantasy book about five characters slash not like they're all in it for their own reasons who have to come together to assassinate a king, but they're all, as I said, coming to it with their own secrets, their own ambitions, their own motivations. And if you like that kind of setup where it's like found family, but we're working together, but also we're kind of keeping secrets from each other and from everyone in this world, can we really trust that found family ish? Then definitely read this one. And the last one I want to chat about is A Song of Achilles, which is on sale. I just wanted to mention this. I know that a lot of people have read The Song of Achilles, but if you haven't and are interested, then this one is on sale. It's basically a retelling of Achilles, but it's super, super emotional. I listened to this one on audiobook when I first read it, and I think that was a really great way because this one is super, super character driven. It's not so focused on kind of like what happens in the actual Achilles. I mean, there are literally what happens to Achilles, but it's way more about the character and these kind of ways that like they love each other and they can't be together, and the love that people have for each other, the love these two characters have for each other, in this sort of retelling of the Iliad, but is more kind of about these characters in the Iliad, not like the Iliad as a whole, I guess. And so those are the audiobook sales for March that I want to talk about for you all today. This was longer than I thought it was going to be. Let me know down below what you are currently listening to, and I hope you have a really great rest of your reading day, week, month, and 2025 year. Bye.